What's going on, guys? What's going on, Tony? Uh, how you doing, man? How you doing? Hope everything is well. Hopefully, you had a better trading week than I did this week. Um, let's see who else hops on. So I'm not doing this with the Trading Up Pod this week. I think there was an error with the uh, with the streams. And so it just didn't get set up in time. And I mean, Cam is based in New Zealand, so he probably be asleep right now. So I won't even see, he probably won't even see my message uh, until you know, later on. But I didn't do the stream last week, so maybe he thought I wasn't trying to do it again this week. So I was a little off of my timing because I was out of town. Um, but yeah, so I wanna take this through I want to go through a couple things, and I want to go through basically a chart analysis and kind of like what I did this week. I'm gonna keep it high level, but I'm gonna go through the chart breakdowns that I usually go through, then talk a little bit about with what happened and why basically I took L's this week. But basically, I was trying to say this in the chat with y'all that like I'm overdue for a loss, a losing week, and if you talk about the phase one and phase two accounts that I went through, I basically passed 200K of accounts in, man, what is this? In 2 weeks or in a month, basically, I ran through a phase one, two phase ones, which are $10,000 a piece, and then another phase two, which was with phase two for each, which was another $5,000. So altogether, I mean, we're talking like $30,000 of profits, of virtual profits made, obviously, to pass these challenges in such a short amount of time, right? So I was overdue for a losing week, and so we'll talk about it on the call. But I think we got two people on. If you're wherever you're watching from, drop a comment in the box. I love to see where people are calling in from. So yes, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen right now and tab. And so right now, this is currently the funded account that I took or that I have, right? So I was able to take those 200K accounts that I passed and merge them into one. And so right now, I'm currently down on the account about a little over $10,000, almost 11, right? So what does that equate to? So that equates to about a little over 5% loss drawdown on the account. And so what happened, right? This is probably the first week. I'd say this is easily the worst trading week of the year for me, for sure. Um, but as I look at the account, I did not win a single trade on the account this week, and I had some pretty big losses, right? Uh, as we start with the beginning, the losses were pretty much managed. Now, I would say, like for the most part, to lose 4 or 5 consecutive days in a row and only be down half the account is probably pretty good, right? Now, there were some opportunities for me to like manage my risk a little bit better, right? These losses probably should have been somewhere around 1,000 a piece, right? 1,000. So if you look at this one, this probably should be cut in half. That should be cut in half, and that one was when I kind of realized that I was tilting, right? And I was like, okay, I got to really preserve capital and kind of come back to next week. So throughout trading, you're gonna have a lot of ups and downs, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter uh, really how much money you're given. If you can't manage it, then you're gonna have an issue, right? But again, being down, about 6,000. I think the worst trade I had was I guess a $6,000 drawdown, a $12,000 max loss, and then obviously an overall negative profit of 10,750. So about 5.3% of the account is what I'm down. So a little over five, whatever. So what do you do in these situations, these scenarios, right? So the number one thing that you want to do is you want to be able to uh, assess the risk. Obviously, stop, right? So a lot of times you have the opportunity to get into a drawdown scenario where you see the loss and you're like, I got to make all this back today. I'm funded, right? So I'm funded. This is a funded account. This is not uh, a account challenger. You got 30 days to pass before you can rebuild. I don't ever have to abide by another time limit ever again. I could spend each of the next year, each month of the next year, and make $1,000 and bring this back, right? There's no time limit for me to have to do this. So that's the first and foremost thing, is once you realize that you got to stop making the hole bigger, right? You got to stop, right? Because at some point, the more and more losses you experience, the more and more you have the potential to tilt, right? And as you look at what basically my trading was this past week, right, I started to get to the point where I was tilting, right? You can see the losses start to get bigger. The last two losses were about half, 3,000. Yeah, about almost half of my drawdown was gone in the two losses right there. So, yes, when you realize that, the first thing you have to do is kind of pull yourself away, because the number one thing you have to do is preserve capital. You also have to realize that as a trader, you're going to have a series of ups and downs, right? So that's the first and foremost thing. And then you have to reevaluate. So what am I going to do moving forward? Well, I had about $10,000 left. Well, a little over 9,000 left, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to treat this like it's a 50K account or a 100K account, right? With FTMO, and really dial back my risk. Originally, I didn't even plan on trading this account until next year anyway, because of the rules that they put in place, right? As far as what I could do, risking 1% per trade. And so with this, I'm not going to really rush this process to bring it back. I don't really care how long it takes me. Um, and so what I'm going to do is I have two other challenge accounts that I'm going to be working on and try and pass. And the goal here is to really focus on those. I'm going to have those accounts all hooked up together through a trade copier. But take those challenge accounts and really focus on mentally the 100K account, and then growing that slowly, right? Because that's the most important thing. Make sure you find a really good setups. Going back to the basics, and then seeing like what went wrong here, as far as like, did I follow my strategy, right? As far as the overarching strategy here. And I think where I got caught up at, obviously, and we'll switch to the charts in a second, is I was expecting something to happen on dollar that didn't happen, and I had a hard time letting go of that idea. So what you have to do again is, assess the situation. We'll stop first and foremost, and assess the situation and say, okay, cool. Like, well, what's going on? Why is my idea not playing out? Is it a risk management thing? Is it a me thing? Is it something else? And then, you know, turn things around by slowly building your account back, right? You want to set small goals. So for me, it's like if I can walk away with, an $800 to $1,000 win next week and each week moving forward, and it takes me then, the rest of the year to bring this account back, I'm okay with that. Because again, I wasn't planning on trading this account until next year anyway. And on top of that, I don't have a reason. Like, there's no rush for this, right? The minute you start trying to rush trading, this is when you tend to blow up. So I wanted to show this because this is a very, 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 very observant, or very, very just transparent look at what it takes to be, successful in trading. You're gonna have these limits. There's definitely times you're gonna be down 5% on your account. Like, that's a given, right? Now, if you're trading with your own personal money, 5% is nothing. Trading with a fund account, 5% is a little bit bigger of a deal, right? So, but you gotta be able to, manage these and weather these storms out. And it all starts with assessing your risk and really knowing that back. So now, instead of risking about $800, $900 a position, I'm going to be risking somewhere close to like $400, right? And I want to be able to just get a little bit closer back, slowly but surely get further away from the drawdown max limit, which is obviously 180,000. Take my time, but still, $9,000 is a lot of money to play with, and it's still that. So that's my approach moving forward. And I also will be working on the other 200K accounts as well, so I can hopefully bring those back about the same time that I pass the other ones, or bring this account back at the same time I pass the other ones. So that's all it is. Again, the number one thing you can't do is panic in these type of scenarios and realize that you're not. I mean, you could bring it all back in one day, right? I could have a $10,000 trade for sure, but the risk that I have to put on my account to get to that $10,000 in a day is not something I really want to abide by. My number one goal is not to have to go back to the funded phase, or funded challenge phase, and do this again, right? So that's slowly but surely what the plan is, and yeah, so I'm gonna chip away at this like I always do. And so, and then also noticing things about yourself is a good thing too, because for me, what I've noticed is that I tend to, whenever I get a new account, I tend to find myself in drawdown, whether it's a challenge or a funded account. I tend to find myself in drawdown pretty quickly, and a lot of that might be anxiousness of the account, or hurry up and trying to get to a profit. And you notice that trend over time. You got to take note of that and find ways to correct that. So that's something I'm working on too, trying to figure out exactly what's the reason, what's the underlying reason for me ending up in drawdowns so quickly. When I start challenges out. So that's all stuff that I'm thinking about. But let's get into the charts. Talk a little bit about what's going on and why, maybe what led to this situation to begin with. So first things first with dollar. Coming to the table on dollar, I had a analysis on what I wanted to see dollar play out with, right? And so coming to the table, I've been saying for the past couple weeks that I wanted to see the dollar go lower and I wanted to see it break structure. Well, that's not what we got this week. So if I take away everything and go back to these charts, you can see that dollar was trading up in this fair value gap, and I wanted to see the market go lower. That was the analysis that we had for this week. And I said, okay, cool. As long as we respect this fair value gap, uh, I want to see the market go lower, either this one or this one. And we didn't get that. We actually inverted on this dollar chart. We didn't invert, but if you go to the other dollar, you can see that we inverted this fair value gap. And then Friday closed with a huge wick downward, which traded back into these imbalances, kind of cleared things out. And usually when you see these long wicks like this, it's letting us know that we do want to go higher. So overall and all, the market with dollars really giving us a clean liquidity sweep here, traded back up into this range, and then it's really starting to give us the look that things might turn around and go higher. Right, we swept the lows here cleanly, and then basically have been trading in an uptrend over the past few weeks with the signs of more bullishness going higher. So what do I want to see here? Again, I want to see potentially the market run higher. I'm going to switch my bias up, and I think we're going to go higher. I think it's going to be reflected on a lot of things too. So I'm going to be looking at least at this high here for this week. Right. And that's the goals. I want to see the market really run to those highs on dollar, especially with the way Friday closed. I don't think we're going to come back down here. We could, but that's a very long wick, right? And it respected pretty much the inversion of this fair value gap, which is where we're currently sitting. We're at the upper end of this with this wick. I expect this to kind of run higher. So ideally, that's what I'm looking at for dollar is a bullishness run. I'm changing my bias up, and the market, the way the market is starting to give us higher highs going into this, and really rejecting from these main levels. I think we're gonna start running towards buy side liquidity up here. So dollar, I'm bullish. I'm gonna switch my bias up. Euro, same situation here. This is looking like, again, I wanted to see the market really trade back into this fair value gap, respect it, and then go higher. So what do I want to see this week instead? Um, as long as I want us to stay below consequent encroachment. I'm not really going to be looking to buy anything below consequent encroachment. Uh, if we're going to go bullish, then it needs to be above this. It needs to invert. But most likely, I think if I predict dollar to go bearish, or bullish, then I want to see this kind of run bearish. The way that this Friday closed with this wick is also a good sign that the market wants to run lower. So I need to see some type of little break of market structure in the 4 hour, something that's going to let us know the market wants to run lower. I'm not going to immediately hop in and take a trade here. So Euro USD, I want to see the market run lower. Start targeting downside objectives. Obviously, again, with this, my goal here is to take very, very high probability setups. Again, my New York session continuation, which is a model that I talk about all the time. That's what I want to see happen this week. Um, so that's going to be Euro. Let's go to British Pound. Again, same thing here. This is honestly, British Pound might be the best setup for next week. It's a clear rejection from this level. We inverted this gap, and I think add up everything so far, I think we have a really strong potential to run to these lows. I want to see the market. We even gap down on the daily there too. This is a really strong rejection. So I'm definitely want to see the market run lower here and look for something that we can continue on with the New York session continuation play for sure. So I'm very bullish on we traded back over this fair value gap and everything. Um, so that's what I'm going to be looking for. I might even try to swing trade something and try to get something down to these lows. That's really where we're sitting at. It looks like there is a 60 something point opportunity there. So definitely want to put some points back on the board for that. So that's what I'll be looking for altogether. On those two, New Zealand dollar looks very, it's kind of staticky. I don't like this one at all. Nah, nothing if it changes. Odd. kind of in the same boat. It's just kind of trading back and forth. There are these relative equal lows sitting right here, though. I will note that the market could back down, come back down and take those, but nothing here. I could easily make the case for this to go higher or lower. So nothing as clear. USD JPY is looking very kind of bullish right now. So I like the way that this is kind of running. I could definitely see us running higher and taking this. We've been kind of in a wedge pattern since the beginning of the year, but I like the breakout here. Let's look at Nasdaq. Nasdaq is at all-time highs. The only thing I can do is project that the market will come back up here and take that high. So really want to see the market come up and take that high. So would love to see something like this. Market does this, trades back into that level, and then runs higher. Let's look at US500. Same thing here. We're trading above these all-time highs. The only thing I can really project to is this high here. We didn't sweep it or take it out. So maybe we did. No, relative equal highs looks like. So I want to see the market run back up in there. So maybe something like this. We trade back into this fair value gap and then run higher there. So ideally, this is what I would like to see for the week. This is a best case scenario, right? Like most optimal scenario, but I definitely want to see the market come up and take this target. So again, dropping back down to the 6,775 level and then running higher. And then lastly, looking at YM. Again, same idea, kind of trading back into this range. We have a good breaker set up here. So like would love to see this, or maybe even as high as this fair value gap there that we formed at the end of Monday or end of Friday. Trading back into this range here and then running higher. Something like that. Maybe this one or that one. 47,384 and 47,214. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. And then I'll look at gold too. Gold is in the middle of the pullback. You can see some very, very strong wick support here though. Right. So again, I did have one trade that I was just a little too, I was very aggressive towards the end of the run last week, which obviously didn't work out in my favor. But ideally, I want to see the market trade back into this. There's a lot of strong wicks here. I would not be surprised if gold made another run towards its all-time high like that. The very, very strong wick support waking up this fair value gap with order blocks. Again, if you're one of my students, you understand exactly what fair value gaps and order blocks together means. Ideally, I want to see something like that play out. Has to invert this fair value gap there, right? So it has to invert that CIVI. So if we don't get that, then we can't go higher. So ideally, that's what I'm looking at for this week. I'll stay on for a couple minutes. I think it might just be Tony on here if that's just you. You can always hit the questions in here, hit me in the chat. But ideally, yeah, this is how you bounce back, right? So you have to decrease your risk. You have to take things a lot slower. And just remember that there's no time limits for any of these things. They got rid of all the time limits and challenges years ago. So you can take your time. And again, if it takes you 2 years to make that 10,000 back or that whatever drawdown you're in, that's what you have to do. You just got to take your time and slowly grow it, right? And learn from that. Hopefully, when I slowly grow this, I'll actually come back with more capital as well. So I'm gonna love to show you guys the comeback story there on that account, and then keep showing you the other accounts that are growing. I think with the FTMO account as well, like I said, I do have a third challenge that's up and running, and I think I opened this account like on Thursday because I said if I come back with this at 189 and bringing that back up to where we need to be, I'm gonna have to not focus on how much I'm down. And so my way of doing that is having multiple accounts hooked up together, where I'm slowly working on that second account, but I'm not seeing it because I'm really focused on the other account. So one account will be the master account, where I'm just gonna be focused on building that account. And as long as everything's like copying okay, it should grow while I'm focusing on the third and fourth challenge. So that's the 100K account right here. And I'm up $100. I closed out the week on a very, very small trade there. And yeah, so that's what I'm gonna be focusing on moving into 2020. Uh, 2020. Well, for the rest of the year, really trying to pass this one, and then another 100K it's attached to it, but up $100. So cool start on that one. So again, trading is something that you have to disconnect from these numbers. You can't let these numbers scare you or fool you. And your whole goal needs to be focused on finding good quality setups, right? And making sure that you're managing these things appropriately. So again, I was overdue for a bad week. So I'm happy that this happened now, and I'm happy that I still have a lot of room to play with. I basically have a whole 100K account to play with on this to bring it back. So I'm excited about that. So, but don't ever say that I didn't show you guys transparency in trading, because this is exactly what transparency looked like. You need to have these moments, or else people think that you're just it's all rainbows and butterflies. So all right, guys. So I'm gonna let you guys go. Tony, I think you might be the only one on here. Again, hit me in the chat if you have any questions at all. But just wanted to pop in here with a week update and stay consistent with everything going on. So hope you guys enjoyed this, and peace.